The first sign of them came on a quiet Tuesday morning. A farmer in Iceland spotted strange lights hovering over the sea, shimmering like a mirage. By noon, telescopes across the world confirmed it, a fleet of massive ships, sleek and silver, orbiting Earth. No one knew where they came from or what they wanted. Scientists called them the Varn, a name picked from an old language meaning unknown. For weeks, they just sat there, silent and still, watching. Liam was tinkering in his garage when the news broke. He was 28, an engineer with a knack for fixing anything, cars, drones, even the busted solar panels on his roof. His hands were always dirty, his mind always racing with ideas. That day, he dropped his wrench and stared at the TV, where a reporter stammered about alien visitors. Liam's gut told him this wasn't a friendly visit. He grabbed his phone and called Maya, his old college friend. Maya answered from her office in London. She was a linguist, someone who could untangle any language, human or otherwise. Her desk was a mess of notebooks and coffee cups, but her voice was calm. "Liam, you think they're here to talk?" she asked. He laughed, a little nervous. "If they are, they're not in a hurry to say hello." She agreed to meet him in person. Something big was coming, and they both felt it. The world tried to reach out. Radio signals, laser pulses, even old-fashioned flags waved from planes. Humanity threw everything at the Varn. Nothing came back. Leaders begged for answers, scientists speculated, and people prayed. Then, 1 month after they arrived, the Varn moved. Not with words, but with action. It started in the Pacific. Giant machines dropped from their ships, plunging into the ocean. They sucked up water, fish, and minerals, leaving dead zones behind. Satellites caught them next in the Amazon, cutting down trees with beams of light, harvesting wood and soil. No warnings, no explanations, just taking. Liam watched the footage on his laptop, jaw tight. "They're treating Earth like a grocery store," he muttered. Maya joined him at a makeshift research hub in Canada, where experts scrambled to understand the Varn. She pored over data, looking for patterns in their movements, anything that might hint at a language. Liam worked beside her, sketching ideas for devices to track the aliens' tech. They barely slept, fueled by coffee and a growing unease. The Varn weren't just ignoring humanity, they were testing it. Governments argued about what to do. Some wanted to fight, others to negotiate. But how do you negotiate with silence? The Varn's machines spread, hitting every continent. Crops vanished, rivers dried up, and people started to panic. Liam and Maya's team grew, pulling in mechanics, coders, and even a fisherman named Tom who'd seen the ocean machines up close. Tom described them as metal whales with claws, and Liam sketched one on a napkin, already thinking of ways to jam its gears. Then came the breaking point. Off the coast of Japan, a city called Hirosaka stood in the Varn's path. Its people refused to leave, holding protests with signs that read, "This is our home." The Varn didn't care. One of their ships hovered overhead, silent as ever. A beam of light shot down, bright and blinding. When it faded, Hirosaka was gone, wiped clean, not even rubble left. Over 1 million lives, erased in seconds. The world stopped breathing. Liam and Maya saw it live on a screen at the hub. She grabbed his arm, her nails digging in. "They didn't even warn them," she whispered. Liam's hands shook, but his mind was already spinning. "That's it," he said. "They've gone too far." Across the planet, people felt the same. Fear turned to anger. Patience snapped. News spread fast. Protests turned into rallies. Leaders who'd hesitated now shouted for action. In the hub, Liam slammed his fist on a table. "We're not just going to sit here," he told the team. "We figure out what they want, and we stop them." Maya nodded, flipping through her notes. "If they won't talk, we'll make them listen." The team got to work. Liam led a group to analyze scraps of Varn tech left behind in the ocean, twisted metal and glowing circuits. He stayed up all night, rigging a drone to mimic their energy signals. Maya listened to static from intercepted Varn transmissions, hunting for meaning. Tom and the others scouted the aliens' next targets, risking their lives for every clue. Humanity wasn't united yet, but a spark was growing. Days later, Liam's drone flew toward a Varn ship. It didn't shoot back, it just hovered, letting the drone get close. The feed showed a hull covered in strange symbols, pulsing with faint light. Maya squinted at the screen. "That's not random," she said. "It's a code." She scribbled notes, her pen flying. Liam grinned. "Then we've got something to crack." But the Varn weren't done. Another ship appeared over Europe, its machines tearing into forests. Alarms blared in the hub as reports flooded in. Liam stared at the drone feed, then at Maya. "They think we're weak," he said. "They're wrong." She met his eyes, fierce and determined. "Let's prove it." The part ended with humanity's first real step. Leaders called an emergency summit, pulling every nation together. Liam and Maya's team shared their findings. The Varn were here to take, not to talk. The summit ended with a vow: no more waiting. Earth would fight back, not with desperation, but with the ingenuity that had carried humans through every crisis before. The Varn had pushed too far, and now they'd see what happened when humanity drew a line. The air in the research hub buzzed with energy. Screens flickered with data, radios crackled with updates, and the smell of burnt coffee hung heavy. Liam stood over a table littered with alien metal, his hands moving fast as he pieced together a device. It looked like a mess of wires and glowing bits, but to him, it was a key. The Varn had pushed humanity to the edge, and now the edge was pushing back. Maya sat nearby, headphones on, replaying the static from the Varn ship's signals. Her notebook was a storm of scribbles, dots, lines, and guesses at what the symbols meant. She'd cracked human languages from dusty ruins. This was harder, but she wouldn't stop. "They're talking," she muttered to herself. "I just need to hear it." Every hour, she shared what she found with Liam, and he turned her clues into plans. The world outside was waking up. After Hirosaka vanished, people stopped arguing and started acting. Leaders from every country met online, their faces grim but focused. They agreed on one thing: the Varn had to go. Armies dusted off old weapons, factories churned out drones, and regular folks pitched in. A teacher in Brazil sent Liam a design for a signal jammer. A kid in India mailed Maya a drawing of the Varn symbols she'd seen in a dream. Humanity was messy, loud, and determined. Liam's first big idea came from the drone they'd sent up. The Varn hadn't shot it down, they'd let it get close. "They're not scared of us," he told the team. "That's their mistake." He spent 3 days building a new gadget, something he called a pulse box. It mimicked the energy signals from the Varn machines, but with a twist: it could overload them. Tom, the fisherman, clapped him on the back. "If it works, I'll buy you a boat," he said with a grin. Testing it wasn't easy. The Varn were everywhere now, their ships hovering over cities, their machines tearing up land and sea. The team picked a spot in Alaska where a Varn harvester was sucking up ice. Liam flew the pulse box up on a patched-together drone, his heart pounding. The machine whirred, then sparked, and stopped dead. Cheers erupted in the hub. "First win," Liam said, but his eyes were already on the next fight. Maya's breakthrough came the same night. She'd been staring at the symbols from the drone feed, matching them to the static's rhythm. "It's not words," she said, ripping off her headphones. "It's orders, like a computer code." She ran to Liam, showing him a pattern. "This says, extract. They're telling their machines what to take." Liam's mind raced. "If we can fake those orders, we can mess with them." The summit leaders loved it. They gave Liam and Maya a green light to hit a Varn ship. The plan was crazy: sneak aboard, hack their system, and figure out what they were really after. Liam picked a small team, Tom for his grit, a coder named Ellie for her speed, and a pilot called Ravi who could fly anything. Maya insisted on going too. "I need to see their language up close," she said. Liam didn't argue, he trusted her. Getting to the ship meant flying through a storm of Varn drones. Ravi took an old cargo plane, patched with steel and hope, and dodged energy blasts like a dancer. Liam clutched the pulse box, sweat beading on his forehead. Tom cracked jokes to keep them steady, and Ellie typed code on a laptop balanced on her knees. Maya stared out the window, memorizing every flash of alien light. They landed on the ship's hull, a flat spot near an exhaust vent, and cut their way in. Inside, the Varn ship was a maze of silver walls and glowing tubes. No guards, no alarms, just machines humming like a heartbeat. Liam led the way, pulse box ready. They found a control room, a dome of screens showing Earth's surface, oceans, forests, cities, all marked with red dots. "They're mapping everything," Ellie whispered. Maya plugged into a terminal, her hands shaking as she fed in fake orders from her notes. The screens flickered, and a harvester on Earth stopped mid-cut. "It works," she breathed. But they weren't alone long. A Varn appeared, not a machine, but a living thing. It was tall, thin, with skin like liquid metal and eyes that glowed blue. It didn't attack, it just watched. Liam raised the pulse box, ready to fire, but Maya stepped forward. "Wait," she said. She pointed at herself, then the screen, trying to talk without words. The Varn tilted its head, then tapped a panel. A voice came through, cold and flat: "You are not permitted." Maya didn't back down. "Why are you here?" she asked, slow and clear. The Varn paused, then pointed at the map. "Resources. Survival." It was the first time they'd answered, and it hit like a punch. Liam lowered the box. "You're killing us for that," he said. The Varn didn't reply, it just vanished, melting into the wall. The team grabbed what data they could and ran. Ravi got them out as the ship started to hum louder, like it was waking up. Back at the hub, they dumped everything on the table. The Varn needed Earth's water, metals, and plants to survive. They didn't care who got hurt. "They think we're nothing," Tom said, kicking a chair. Liam shook his head. "Then we show them we're something." The summit acted fast. Every screen on Earth lit up with a message, broadcast in the Varn's own code thanks to Maya. A general named Clara read it aloud: "You've taken from us. You've killed our people. Leave now, or we fight. This is your only warning." Her voice was steel, and behind her stood leaders from every corner of the world, united at last. Liam watched the broadcast, his pulse box still warm in his hands. Maya stood beside him, her notebook clutched tight. The team had done the impossible, they'd broken the Varn's silence and given humanity a voice. But the Varn ships didn't move. Instead, a new one appeared over Africa, its machines dropping faster than ever. A reply came through the hub's radio, in that same cold voice: "You cannot stop us." The hub went quiet. Then Liam laughed, sharp and fierce. "They think that's the end of it," he said. "They don't know us at all." He turned to the team, eyes blazing. "We've got their code, their tech, and a planet full of people ready to fight. Let's make them regret this." Across Earth, the spark of defiance caught fire. Factories roared, coders hacked, and soldiers trained. A farmer in Kansas rigged a tractor to fire energy pulses. A nurse in Tokyo built a shield from Varn scrap. Humanity wasn't just angry, it was creative, stubborn, and unstoppable. The Varn had lit the match, and now the flames were rising. The Varn didn't wait long to answer humanity's warning. Hours after the broadcast, their ship struck hard. Beams of light carved through cities, Paris, Mumbai, Sydney, leaving smoking craters where homes once stood. Machines swarmed the ruins, harvesting what was left. The cold voice echoed across every radio, "You resist. You fail." But humanity wasn't done. Not even close. Liam stood in the hub, staring at a map of Earth dotted with red attack zones. His pulse box sat on the table, a small victory dwarfed by the chaos outside. Maya paced beside him, her notebook open to the Varn's extract code. "They're hitting us to break us," she said. "But they're not random, they want fear." Liam nodded, his jaw tight. "Then we give them something else to feel." The team didn't waste time. Liam took his pulsebox idea and scaled it up. With Ellie's coding skills and Tom's knack for breaking things, they built a weapon, a disruptor, they called it. It sent out a wave that scrambled Varn tech, turning their own signals against them. Factories across the world copied the design, churning out disruptors by the dozen. A factory worker in Mexico rigged one to a truck, grinning as he tested it on a Varn drone. It crashed in a shower of sparks. Maya had her own fight. She kept digging into the Varn's language, piecing together more commands. Stop, retreat, power down, she wrote them all down, testing them on captured machines. One night, she hacked a harvester in Siberia and made it dig itself into the ground. "They're not invincible," she told the team, her eyes bright. "We just need to outsmart them." The war spread fast. Varn ships loomed over continents, but humanity hit back. In the Atlantic, a fleet of fishing boats armed with disruptors took down a harvester ship, cheering as it sank. In China, a group of students flew drones into a Varn beam, jamming it long enough for people to escape. Every win was small, but they added up. The Varn weren't used to resistance, they hesitated, and that was enough. Then came a surprise. During a raid on a Varn outpost in the Sahara, Ravi's plane picked up a signal, a different one, choppy and weak. Maya patched it through the hub speakers. A voice, softer than the Varn's usual tone, said, "We see you. We help." Liam frowned. "A trick?" he asked. Maya shook her head. "No. It's their code, but it's desperate." She sent a reply, "Who are you?" The answer came quick, "Outcasts. Enemies of the fleet." The team debated all night. Tom wanted to ignore it, aliens fighting aliens. Sounds like a trap. But Maya argued back. If they're real, they know the Varn's weaknesses. Liam sided with her. "We're not winning alone," he said. "Let's take the risk." They met the outcasts in secret, flying to a desert canyon where a single Varn ship waited, its hull scratched and dull. The outcasts were Varn, but different, smaller, with faded blue eyes. Their leader, calling itself Kale, explained through a shaky translator. "Our fleet takes worlds. We refused. They cast us out." Kale showed them a map of the Varn mothership, a giant orbiting Earth. "Destroy that, and they scatter." Liam studied the map, his mind racing. "Can you get us in?" Kale nodded. "If you fight with us." The deal was struck. Kale's group shared Varn tech secrets, how their shields worked, how their beams charged. Liam's team built new disruptors, bigger and stronger, while Maya learned Kale's dialect, bridging the gap between species. Trust was shaky, but it grew. Tom even taught Kale how to fish during a break, laughing as the alien fumbled with a net. The turning point came in space. Humanity had cobbled together a fleet, old satellites, cargo ships, anything that could fly. Ravi led the charge, his plane now strapped with a disruptor. The Varn met them near the moon, their silver ships gleaming like knives. Beams flashed, and human ships burned, but the disruptors fired back. One Varn cruiser spun out of control, crashing into another. Ravi whooped over the radio, "They're not so tough." On Earth, the fight raged too. Clara, the general from the broadcast, coordinated ground attacks. Tanks rolled out with disruptors, blasting Varn machines into scrap. In Brazil, a farmer drove his tractor straight into a harvester, disruptor blazing, and took it down. People everywhere joined in, mechanics, cooks, kids, everyone had a role. The Varn's cold voice returned, "You delay. You die." But humanity wasn't listening. Kale's outcasts proved their worth. They slipped into Varn formations, feeding Liam's team weak points. One night, they guided a human strike on a Varn fuel depot in orbit. The explosion lit up the sky, a fireball visible from Earth. Cheers echoed in the hub, but Liam stayed focused. "We're hurting them," he said. "Now we push." The big move came days later. The Varn mothership loomed closer, its shadow darkening cities. Liam, Maya, and Kale planned a counterattack. The disruptors were ready, huge ones, mounted on ships and trucks. The fleet launched everything, planes, rockets, even a shuttle. An old astronaut named Hannah flew solo. Kale's ship joined them, weaving through Varn defenses. The battle was chaos. Varn beams tore through the air, but human ships dodged and fired back. Disruptors pulsed, and Varn machines faltered, shields flickered, engines died. Hannah rammed her shuttle into a Varn turret, laughing over the radio as it blew. On the ground, Clara's forces hit hard, clearing landing zones. The mothership fired a massive beam, leveling a mountain, but the disruptors answered, cracking its hull. The Varn broke. Ships pulled back, retreating past the moon. The mothership turned slow and clumsy, its lights dimming. Kale's voice crackled through, "They run. You did it." The hub erupted, Tom hugged Ellie, Ravi cheered from his cockpit, and Maya grabbed Liam's arm. "We're winning," she said, breathless. But it wasn't over. As the Varn fleet scattered, a new signal came from the mothership. A deeper voice, sharp and angry, "You defy us. We return. Stronger." The screen showed their leader, a towering Varn with eyes like fire. Liam stared back, unflinching. "Let them try," he said. "We'll be ready." The tide had turned. Humanity stood tall, battered but unbroken. The Varn had underestimated them, and now they paid the price. With Kale's help, Earth had a chance, not just to survive, but to fight for something bigger. The stars weren't theirs alone anymore. The Varn's retreat didn't last. Days after their fleet pulled back, the stars darkened again. The mothership returned, bigger and meaner, flanked by new ships bristling with weapons. Its leader's voice boomed across Earth, "You challenged us. Now you end." Cities braced for the worst, but humanity wasn't backing down. They'd drawn a line, and they'd hold it. Liam stood in the hub, staring at a screen showing the Varn armada. The disruptor weapons had worked, but the mothership's hull glowed stronger now, like it had adapted. Maya sat beside him, her notebook open to Kale's latest tips. "They've upgraded," she said. "But Kale says the core's still weak." Liam nodded, his mind already churning. Then we hit the heart. The world moved fast. Clara, the general, rallied every fighting force, planes, ships, even volunteers with homemade disruptors. Factories hummed, spitting out new weapons. Kale's outcasts brought stolen Varn tech, showing Liam how to tweak the disruptors for more power. Tom tested one in the yard, grinning as it melted a steel plate. "This'll sting," he said. The plan was bold, take the fight to the mothership. Liam and Maya would lead a team inside, guided by Kale, to shut down its core. Ravi would fly the assault fleet, keeping the Varn busy. Ellie coded a virus from Maya's language notes, something to scramble the mothership systems. It was risky, crazy, even, but humanity thrived on crazy. The launch came at dawn. Ships roared into the sky, old fighters, cargo haulers, anything with wings. Ravi's voice crackled over the radio, "Let's dance, folks." Kale's ship led Liam's team, a sleek dart cutting through space. The Varn met them hard, beams slicing the dark. Human ships fell, but disruptors fired back, cracking Varn shields. A farmer's plane took out a cruiser, its pilot whooping as it spun away. Liam's team landed on the mothership's hull, a vast silver plane. Kale burned a hole with a stolen beam, and they dropped inside. The air hummed with energy, walls pulsing like a living thing. Varn drones swarmed, but Tom blasted them with a handheld disruptor, laughing. "Like shooting fish," he yelled. Maya guided them with Kale's map, her voice steady despite the chaos. Outside, the battle raged. Ravi dodged a beam, his plane spinning wild, then fired a disruptor that shattered a Varn wing. Clara's ground forces launched rockets, lighting up the sky. The mothership fired back, a wave of heat that leveled a forest, but humanity kept coming. A kid in Australia flew a drone into its guns, jamming one long enough for Ravi to hit it. Inside, the team reached the core, a glowing orb, big as a house, guarded by Varn soldiers. These weren't drones, tall, metal-skinned, with claws that sparked. Liam fired his disruptor, stunning one, while Tom tackled another. Kale fought too, his thin frame surprisingly fast. Maya plugged Ellie's virus into a terminal, her hands flying. The orb flickered, and the Varn froze, confused. But the leader appeared. Towering, its eyes burned red, and its voice shook the room, "You are insects." It swung a claw, knocking Tom across the floor. Liam dove, firing the disruptor, but it barely dented the leader's armor. Kale shouted, "The core, now." Maya hit the final command, and the virus surged. The orb pulsed wild, light strobing, and the leader roared. The mothership trembled. Outside, Ravi saw its guns falter and yelled, "Hit it hard." The fleet unloaded everything, disruptors, rockets, even a satellite an old engineer had rigged to ram. Cracks spread across the hull, glowing red. Inside, Liam grabbed Maya as the floor buckled. "We've got to go," he shouted. Kale pulled Tom up, and they ran. The leader lunged, but the core exploded behind it, a blast of light and heat. The Varn screamed, its body melting into the floor. The team sprinted for Kale's ship, the walls collapsing around them. Ravi swooped in, docking just as they leaped aboard. The mothership shuddered, then tore apart, a fireball lighting the stars. Varn ship scattered, leaderless and lost. Earth cheered. From the hub, Clara watched the sky clear, her stern face breaking into a smile. In the fleeing ship, Liam slumped against a wall, breathing hard. Maya sat beside him, her notebook singed but safe. Tom groaned, rubbing his head, while Kale stared out at the wreckage. "You did it," Kale said, voice soft. Liam grinned. "We did it. The Varn were gone, for now." Leaders broadcast the victory, praising everyone who'd fought. A baker in London had shielded her street with Varn scrap. A fisherman in Chile had sunk a drone with a harpoon. Humanity hadn't just survived, it had shown. Kale's outcast stayed, trading tech for a home on Earth. "We learn from you," Kale told Maya, and she smiled. Weeks later, Liam stood on a hill, watching the stars. Maya joined him, her hair blowing in the wind. "Think they'll come back?" she asked. He shrugged. "Maybe. But we'll be ready." She nodded, and they looked up together. The galaxy had noticed Earth now, not as a resource, but as a force. Stories spread among the stars, the day humanity drew a line and held it. The hub buzzed again, not with war, but with ideas. Kids sketched ships, engineers built better disruptors, and Maya taught Kale's language to anyone who'd listen. Earth wasn't just a planet anymore, it was a spark, lighting up the dark. The Varn had tested humanity, and humanity had answered. Whatever came next, they'd face it with the same fire.